Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Recreation and Parks Commission. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Jackie, roll call, please.
Commissioner Farfan?
Present.
Commissioner Pierce is not here this evening. Commissioner Looms?
Present.
Vice Chair Davis?
Present.
And Chairperson Moda.
I am here. We'll move to presentations. Recreations Division's Mission and Values presentation. Araceli.
Good evening, Commissioners. Let me start from where this started. It started about a year ago. I think I sat in front of Meredith, so I have to thank Meredith for this opportunity first. And I asked her the question, and I said, do we have a mission, vision, and outline values? And she was like, not really. And I said, well, can I take on that task and start developing that with the staff? So I had the opportunity to meet with the staff every other month. This actually took us a year to agree. You have minds in the room, and we're trying to agree on words, what best fits the city of El Segundo. So I wanted to kind of walk you through what we came up with, hoping that you would enjoy it just as much as we do, and hoping that you say, yes, we like it too. So let's move forward. So these are our values. So we have 8 outlined values. And the staff came up with these first 2, which were community, and that's having a feeling of fellowship with others. And what we mean by that is it seems that the city of El Segundo has a great focus on the community, and they really want to make sure that their residents are being served. And so that is a focus of ours too. So we chose community. Diversity. With the city of El Segundo, we noticed that City of El Segundo is changing and growing, and more people are coming in and starting businesses, and we have a lot of people attracted to the area. So we wanted to make sure that the people coming into the City of El Segundo to enjoy our services are feeling welcomed as well. Next, we have fun or recreation. So it wouldn't be a department if we didn't make fun a focus. So we try to make sure our activities and any events that we offer to the public, we would try to make sure they're fun and enjoyable. Innovation. Well, we all know that the city's new tagline is where big ideas take off. And we would like to think that the businesses here in the city of El Segundo are a part of that idea, and so are we. As recreation, we try to come up with new and innovative things for the city to enjoy, and so we chose innovation. Next is integrity. We want to make sure that any services that we offer to the public, that they're honest and we have morals and we stand behind them. We're also dealing with a lot of the public funds, so we want to make sure that the city trusts us with those funds and how they're used for public service. Quality, anything we put out should be high and excellent. So I like to use the word extraordinary with the staff. We're always shooting for that when we're providing services. Teamwork. I'm really big on teamwork, and so are they. We work together to make everything happen that we do in the department, on starting from Meredith all the way down to our very, very part-time staff. We try to make it all happen together. It's never a single person. We always make sure that it's a team effort. Tradition. El Segundo has a lot of past customs that they really try to still enjoy. So we try to keep things like you have the hometown fair and the 4th of July. Those are past traditional events that the city enjoys, and we try to keep those going. So we want to keep the tradition as well. So now I'm going to move on to what our vision motto is. And the team was really quick with coming up with we engage, we inspire, and we play. meaning that we engage. We try to engage the public in everything we do. We try to offer services that everyone can enjoy. We also inspire. We want to inspire people to try new things and get better at whatever they're enjoying, or just inspired to do something well or be a better person. And then we play. Recreation is all about play. And I think as we become adults, we forget that play is a very integral part of what we should be doing every day. It's still very important. So we play is not just for the young people, it's for the mature adults also. And this was the mission statement. And it reads, El Segundo Recreation and Parks strives to be a heart of community wellness by offering people of all ages the opportunity to enjoy engaging experiences within our parks and recreation facilities. And we try to make that just an all-encompassing, we love the community, we want to offer our services to everyone and make sure that we're providing the best parks and recreation facilities that we can for everyone to enjoy. And that's it. Questions?
No questions, but with my military background, the mission and vision keeps us laser focused, so I love this.
I was just going to say at the beginning, you said you hoped that at the end of this we would be supportive of this. I am quite supportive. I think it's awesome, personally.
Similar to the Air Force, being with the fire department, we do have a very similar code. The one thing I did look at, I noticed that under quality, I think there's a lot of different values for quality. So instead of quality, maybe think of excellence or something of a high quality rather than just a quality. But that would be my only, I think it's great because like he says, it does keep your focus on what is important. And it's a brief snapshot into what you do every day, but it reminds you to what it is. So I like it. Thank you.
I like it a lot. It's a nice vision.
Thank you.
And thank you for that presentation. As soon as the lights come back up, we don't want anybody to trip down the aisle there. Public communications related to commission business only, and that is within the subject matter under the jurisdiction of this commission. 5 minutes per person, 30 minutes total. Anyone? Please state your name.
Good evening, Recreation and Parks Commission members. My name is Victor Yaai, and I'm a manager at Three Musketeers Next Generation. Three Musketeers Next Generation invites you and the El Segundo community to our first annual Arbor Day on Saturday, April 28th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. This year for Arbor Day, we will be caring for trees on Memory Row along Imperial Avenue. Besides removing invasive plants and weeding, we will be spreading mulch. In 2 short hours, we will have spruced up the northern entrance to El Segundo and made it more welcoming. The city of El Segundo and community contributors will make this event possible. Please join us on Saturday, April 28th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Come with your friends, family, and coworkers to share in this event. If you would like more information about this event, you can check out our website, treemusketeers.com. Three Musketeers The Next Generation sees a timeless vision of children planting trees and becoming leaders of environmental change. Thank you to everyone for sharing in this vision and participating with us. You know, everyone plans to make our first annual Arbor Day a wonderful event for the El Segundo community. Thank you.
Before you sit down. Victor, sorry, quick question. Can the community just show up at 10, or do you need to sign up in advance?
We have a sign-up Genius, which you can sign up at, but otherwise you can just come.
You can just come. And is it on the corner? Are you starting on Main Street and Imperial? That's the meeting place initially?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. I am Alex Farfan, and I'm here on behalf of El Segundo High School Choir. I would like to invite you guys to our Song Fest, 22nd. It's on a Sunday. Tickets are $10. We'll be singing songs from like all genres, and the middle school will be joining us, and so will Richmond Street, Center Street School, and Infinite Learning.
All right, thank you. Okay, seeing no other public communications, we'll close public communications. Consent calendar, approval of the minutes of the Recreation and Parks Commission regular meeting of March 21st, 2018. Before we do that, Jackie has something she wants to say.
Okay. For the last meeting, it will be page 4 on your agenda packet. Commissioner Lubes was present, was not absent. And then on page 2 of the actual agendas, Stevenson Field is spelled incorrectly. So it's Stevenson, V-E-N. So, and that's also on page 19. So that's correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Move approval with corrections?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 4-0. Okay. No unfinished business. New business. Consideration and possible action regarding number 1, the request for placement of a donated bench with a memorial plaque and tree at Memory Row honoring Bob Lipton, donated by the Marty Stone family. Number 2, the request for placement of a memorial plaque honoring the Christmas tree at Library Park, donated by the El Segundo Women's Club. And the request for relocation of a previously donated bench by the Binder family to a city park location. And we have recommendations here to accept the donated bench and approve the placement of the bench and tree at Memory Row. That's number 1. Accept the donated plaque at Library Park. Number 3, accept the relocation of the donated bench and approve the placement at Recreation Park. And alternatively, discuss and take other action related to this item. So, Meredith, are you going to start us off?
Yes, actually, Christopher will.
Okay.
Good evening. We have the 3 memorial donations. We've been working with Marty Stone and family on locations. We've provided a bench for the donation, along with a plaque, and the tree species, we're still up in the air. We're working with them on the particular species. The location is on Memory Row, close to the Loma Vista Imperial Avenue intersection. It's an open area, so we're going to work on specific locations with the family. On the second donation is a plaque for Library Park for the holiday tree or tree lighting that was presented or donated by the Women's Club back in 1930, I believe. And then the third item is a relocation of a bench that was removed from the Richmond Street improvements here a while back. And there's actually, I think there's a total of 6 benches. We've been doing some refurbishing of those benches, and we're going to propose to locate them adjacent to the clubhouse facility and the skate ring location.
Okay.
I wanted to add that we do have representatives from the 2 groups. We have Marty Stone here and also Elaine Allen from the Women's Club. I'm not sure if the Binder family's here or not, but if you have any questions, they're here to answer those.
Would either of you like to speak? If not, that's fine too. You just have to let us know. If you would, you're welcome to come up to the microphone.
Hi, Marty Stone. Glad to see all of you tonight, and I appreciate you approving the memorial for my brother-in-law. Lost him unexpectedly here, and his mother would be here, but she's 87, and this is a real tough time for her, so that's why I spearheaded doing this, and I appreciate it. think we've got it down to 1 or 2 trees, so we'll have that figured out real quick. So assuming it's approved, I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I just had a question
Okay,
for
wait,
Christopher.
I'm sorry.
For Christopher, if it's okay. Just curiously, do you have to pick a species? I mean, I assume it's going to just be right in the middle of the grass and just get regular grass irrigation. So that limits the species that you choose from, or does it get its own own bubbler?
Well, the city has a recommended list of trees that do particularly well in El Segundo. So we're working with that, and also there's some Edison power lines down there and restrictions as far as location goes. But being an open grass area, it does give us more leeway and for the species.
But it does you just plop it down in the middle of the grass and it just gets the regular
Correct.
grass irrigation, and
Correct.
it succeeds. Because I've had such bad success with that. I'm curious to know what you end up selecting.
I think we're going to pick, we were fortunately getting a lot of help to find Bob's mom wants the pink trumpet tree. Very beautiful tree. Okay. Thanks.
I had one other question regarding the plaque at Library Park, unless you want to stick with Marty for now. Okay. I was just curious to know, who do I ask? Is it going to be right next to the trunk, or can it be in a spot that doesn't mess with the kids who are constantly running? Because there are some plaques in certain areas where you're just walking, all of a sudden, it's like sticking up 8 inches. It's kind of odd. So I was just wondering where precisely it's going to be placed, or if it's been decided.
I don't know that it's been decided. We usually build a concrete base that the plaque is adhered to, and then it does stick up a little. We've had that. There's also an option to put it flush. So I don't know if Chris has had any more further discussion with the group or taken a look at what might be best.
Or if they have a preference.
No discussion at the moment. We're open to that. The other thing we might do is doing a ring of mulch around the tree, incorporating the plaque, make it kind of distinct just from the grass growing right up to the tree.
Sure.
To help with seeing it.
The only thing to consider in terms of making it flush, I mean, we definitely want to make a concrete base around it just to give it some substantial size, because we do have the size limitation on the plaque itself. So we use that to make it a little bit larger.
I guess I would suggest either what you just said or flush, one or the other, not by itself. That's all I have.
I just have a question on the third one, the Binder family bench relocation. Does the relocation minimize the significance at all?
I don't believe so. Their request included a library park or recreation park, and due to the nature of how these benches are attached, we needed a concrete surface. So recreation park was a preference.
You're okay with it? Okay.
I'll move approval on all 3 items under new business number 1.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
It's 4-0. All approved. Okay. Number 2, consideration and possible action related to special event permit applications for non-golf events to be held at the lakes at El Segundo. Discuss and provide feedback on the special event requests at the lakes. 2, alternatively discuss and take other actions related to this item. Meredith?
Thank you very much. So this item is in front of you tonight to get your feedback and any comments that you have that we could take back and work with the applicant to maybe mitigate any concerns that you do have about these events. But basically, the city council and staff and the golf management companies have really been brainstorming about how to make the golf course a venue that would be able to have events or activities that attract non-golfers. throughout the process and evaluating the performance of the golf course over the last few years, it's really been made known that very few El Segundo residents actually patronize or visit the lakes, which is really a kind of an area that we hear a lot of feedback about. I didn't even know this existed, right? So in the spirit of that context, over the last few months, ideas have come up, and we've been able to have some communications with folks who are interested in having events, and actually asking them if they'd be interested to do them at the lakes. 2 events we actually have applications on file for. We've discussed those with the golf course subcommittee and also the golf management team. We've also involved police, fire, and public works, just in initial conversations about both of these events. The applicants for both events are here tonight, so we can take one at a time. But basically, one applicant is Huck Street Productions, 3 gentlemen in the back here, Christian Krager, Mike Bouchard, and David Tardif. They are proposing to have a craft beer and music festival on the driving range. So basically, it would include an entire closure of the driving range and also the adjacent course, basically due to the parking on a Saturday in August. They expect the attendance to be about 4,000 to 5,000. They want to have about 30 craft beer and wine vendors and 5 food vendors, and then a stage in the center of the driving range area that would have local bands and musicians. Obviously this includes alcohol, so there's another layer of protection and security, and they've engaged with a local security director and company on making sure that everything would be safe and secure. What they're currently still working on is parking locations, but what they also do is really heavily encourage any ticket holders and attendees to use Uber and Lyft. Obviously, that would be the best route for everybody. We have had conversation. Also, the general manager of the Lakes, Scott Morgan, is here tonight, and definitely want to just hear the feedback from the commission, concerns moving forward. There are no set reservation fees or rental fees for the golf course for events like this. So currently what we're doing is analyzing past years' typical day of sales, and probably use that number to determine and make a recommendation to City Council, who ultimately decide what fee to charge these 2 events, if any, and if they want to approve the events, because they are kind of non-standard events for that particular facility, and then also, provide any guidance or regulations that they want to put on to the applicant. The second event is a cross-country invitational meet. You're familiar with El Segundo High School holding their cross-country league meet in Recreation Park, and so after 2 years, they really felt that they wanted to try and use this opportunity as a fundraiser. So an invitational meet would basically bring about 30 to 25 teams who would pay a registration fee to enter this race, and the course would go throughout. The race course would be about 3 miles, starting and ending in the driving range area, run throughout the course, obviously avoiding any tee boxes or greens, and be a fundraiser for the cross-country team. This is proposed to be on Saturday, September 8th, starting at 7:30 and ending at about 1:30. So logistically, again, we've had conversations with Scott Morgan and the golf team over there, and still working out the details, but really wanted to get the feedback and see if conceptually this is something that would be supported by the commission to proceed to the City Council. So with that, I'd open it up to discussion, ask you to ask any questions of the Scott or of the applicants.
Do we want to hear from each of the applicants? Let's for number 1, which is Huck Street Productions, let's hear from one of the applicants, or 2 of the applicants, or 3.
Hello, gentlemen. I'm Dave Tardif. I'm one of the founders of Huck Street. Unfortunately, Mike Bouchard, our partner, is in a supervisor meeting for events right now, so he kind of got stuck on that. Yes, any questions you have, we're here to answer anything.
Just tell me about Huck Street. What other events do you do?
We are working on our second event at Seaside Lagoon in Redondo Beach, which is going to be next Saturday, the 28th. It's called Brew Lagoon. We did it last year. We sold out at 500 attendees, had a great time, 0 issues whatsoever. Actually, the police officers working that event said they had so much fun they wanted to attend it this year instead of work it. The city was extremely pleased with how we handled everything. And again, it was just a great time. 5 bands, 20 breweries outside in the park, and like I said, everybody had a fantastic time with 0 issues.
What other events does your company put on that we might want to know about? That you're
That's
associated
the
with?
first one, and then we
that's
also
it,
did
okay.
an event for the American Legion in Hermosa Beach. So this event that's coming up on Saturday the 28th will be our 3rd event.
Cool.
And just to let you know, I work for Stone Brewing Company as well. I've got almost 10 years experience in the craft beer industry with Stone, 18 years experience overall in craft beer industry. These events are really fun to do for the community because it's craft beer. We're really highlighting quality, not quantity. And I've done over 100 of these events through my own company, through Stone. So Mike, my partner, has also done numerous events through his bar that he owned in Hermosa Beach called Gasser Lounge, and he used to do events up in Santa Barbara that would host thousands of people as well. So we have a tremendous amount of experience on this side.
I have a question. So you said at Redondo you guys had 500 attendees?
Correct.
And
We're
then
going to have 1,500 this Saturday. They raised it. The city kind of put a cap on it just to see what we were all about. We proved ourselves to them. They decided that they would increase it another 1,000 people, so we're at 1,500.
Yeah, okay.
Questions?
You drink beer, gentlemen?
None. I have none. Yes, sir.
All right.
I have none for them, but I do have for Meredith.
So let's, thank you. We'll let you know.
Is there a way that our golf course restaurant can be involved? Because I know you're going to talk about the fees, but since the restaurant is the one of the 4 pieces that doesn't do as well, can we boost them and make sure those employees don't lose their Saturday hours and have them be one of the vendors potentially?
We have started kind of brainstorming about how that would happen. We need to be careful about the capacity and the ability to actually service the amount of people that might come through. But we definitely want to be involved, and I know Scott wants to be involved as well. So, and I know the gentleman had, suggested that we might have, some sort of an after function or something that sort of leads people into the clubhouse, and we can have something available for them on the patio. So still to be determined, and yes, we have started brainstorming how that might work.
I have a few questions. Seeing this on the agenda without any information from our police department, that's one. I'd like to see something from our police department first. 4,000 to 5,000 people. Not sure about that quantity, that number. It seems high. Golf course closing for the good portion of the day. Again, I want to see numbers before I can make a decision. I know Scott is here. Hate to put him on the spot right now.
He doesn't mind.
He does. Hi, Scott. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Sure, yeah.
Numbers in the afternoon. They're going to close it all day.
In terms of what revenue we would lose in a couple day.
Numbers of golfers. Numbers on the driving range.
Sure, golfers on a Saturday, we would do anywhere between 100 and 125 players
That's on the course.
on a Saturday.
Yep.
That's all day though, right? That's
All
for a
day,
full
right,
day.
from 6 a.m.
No,
till
no,
dark.
they're closing it all day.
Oh, they are?
They're-
Yeah,
together?
we haven't totally
Okay,
decided on.
what I see here is, well, let's go with that. I want to know what our day is, and then can you tell me what half a day is? If
Of play?
the play, are we, because, I'm sorry, they're going to have to get in there by noon or earlier, so let's say till noon. From noon to dark,
Till dusk. You're probably in the neighborhood of 40 to 50 players.
okay, half, somewhere around half, okay. Driving range?
Driver range, in terms of the revenue for an
Yeah,
entire day.
we'll go with that, yeah.
A Saturday is between 1,800 and 2,100, depending on the weather.
And any idea, can you break that down in number of golfers? Approximately, and I'm not holding you to it, I just want to know how many.
Golfers that would use a driving range on a Saturday?
If it's tough, you can say,
Yeah, it's a tougher we tell by buckets, like I can
Okay.
easily do a report to tell you how many large buckets
okay,
or any size buckets are given out on a particular Saturday. But, and we can look at it as revenue,
okay,
say 2,000, and then dividing that by range cards that are
cool.
purchased and individual PIN codes as well, so. But I can easily create a report that would show number of buckets and balls that are actually dispensed on a Saturday, from exactly what time to that.
Scott, I mean, you seem to be on board with this, so your assumption is that the revenue generated from this would surpass what people would pay for a golf, those 40 people
Correct.
for buckets.
Yeah, we're on board to fully support it. I'd also share the golf course in Pasadena. If you've been to a UCLA football game, you know that the Brookside Golf Course closes basically every Saturday for parking on their golf course. We're not going to put any cars on the golf course. Here or there.
yeah,
Well,
I hope
good
not.
idea.
Okay,
Now, given the 4 to 5,000 people, I assume it's not just the driving range, but it's going to be out on 9 over to 1. Is it going to branch out onto other holes, or what?
No, according to the preliminary talks we've had, it would just be the concert would just be on the driving range.
Just on driving range?
Golf course would be closed.
Okay.
We would arrange to shut the irrigation off as well, so the irrigation would not go on.
I think one thing that we've discussed is the driving range is a really great place to start. It's fully enclosed. It has one ingress egress for any ticket holders. In the backside, there are exits that people could get out, and obviously in case of emergency or anything like that. So an entire action plan would be put together. They are looking forward thinking. So if this, were to be a successful event, they could definitely expand into parts of the course. Opens up a whole other set of, details to be worked out. But the driving range area itself is extremely large. I mean, it could probably fit 10,000 people on there if you wanted. And most people, there are some coming and going as well. So you're probably not going to have 5,000 people there exactly at one time, maybe at the peak of the event. But people are kind of coming and going. So we're comfortable with that number. Now, I think the biggest thing is getting the people to the site and off the site, and that's still to be determined.
and I'm assuming that they're going to work with staff and regarding, obviously, police, liability issue, astronomical.
Absolutely. So the way we run our event application, the permit process, is they fill out the permit application, give us all of the information, the site plan, and then we route it through the different departments, and we'll have a meeting with police, fire, public works, the applicant, and really talk logistics about what type of traffic plan is required, what type of security is required, and the police will dictate that. The fire will dictate ingress, egress, first aid stations, any types of EMS services that they want on site or stationed somewhere. So all of that would be discussed, and then it's up to the applicant to say, yes, we can provide that, or no, we can't.
Okay. Dave? Oh, you had something.
Yeah, no, It doesn't look like you're asking for a vote. It looks like you're just looking for feedback and discussion, correct?
Right.
So I would say for myself that I'm very supportive of this concept. I think it could potentially open up, like you said, multiple opportunities if we can drive, all the cross-promotional things that all of our local businesses can do, even though there'll maybe only be 5 vendors there, the opportunity to expose people to the course. I mean, we might drive more business to the course. I think it's an awesome idea. I don't think 4,000 to 5,000 people would be too much. Parking, obviously, like you talked about, but I think it'd be great if we could have 10 events a year on that place. I obviously, because all of staff and Scott is all of support, I assume that, because in my head I think, okay, so is everything gonna get thrashed? Like, is the carpet, out on the driving range? After everybody leaves, it's now we got to spend, $5,000 on repairing the carpet. Like some of those things, and I know because you're already supportive that you've thought about it, and maybe that'll be built into the security deposit or whatever. But for me, when I read this, I was really excited about the opportunity for El Segundo.
My concerns. Well, first, I love the idea of the production. Huck Street, and I definitely support the cross country. I think they need a place to run. I'd love to see them, start there and then figure out a home course that they could run consistently, whether it be the golf course or somewhere else. Currently, we've had a lot of discussion about this golf course and the activities that they do and do not want to take place. I'm not always on the side of the direction it went in the past, and as it goes forward, we have gone through a very lengthy RFP process to see that we have people managing that facility that's profitable, and they'll have a business plan. If we do put this on, especially the Huck Street Productions, it has to be with the understanding that come new management or come the end of the RFP, when we do decide that this is not necessarily going to be ongoing, because it's going to be a new management group, and it's quite possibly could be a completely different business plan. And in the last few months, we've seen a lot of new ideas come in for the golf course. I just want to make sure that we understand that there's going to be a very large change, and this may not be the time to start making new changes right before we have a complete change. So part of me wants to say perhaps we should hold off on, doing a lot of changes within the business plan. But on the other hand, I know it's going to bring in probably some very good money, and that course is desperately in need of generating revenue, as the city is in need of generating it. So I think we just need to be careful and understand that, there's been a very lengthy process, and I would hope that this doesn't conflict with whatever decisions are made in the future.
Thank you. Alex, anything?
So I'm also a big proponent of this. We talked about this a few months back at the golf course subcommittee, and talked even about doing like a concert series there. So when you talk about 10 events plus, it's really good. It generates revenue. But I did have a question about the new management and when they would potentially be taking over, because that would create a one and done basically, and then was there a point, does the field or the course get messed up? And just for one event, it's kind of tough to weigh that out. But, I proponent.
I just don't think that the RFP is it could take years more. Like, there's no reason to hold our breath that thing's gonna be solved anytime soon. You could get into a negotiation just like we got in with Topgolf and going
That's
for
gone.
forever. If we wait for that, so I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
and I agree, but I don't think it's enough to stop it, like neither one of you.
Did you?
If I could, real quickly, if you've gone to any of the concerts in the park at Wally Pog and down at the beach in Hermosa Beach, it's the same demographic. I mean, it's our demographic that just wants to come out and enjoy themselves. If it's a one and done, then okay, we'll find other locations to do it. If we can continue on and do this and do the 10 events a year, we would gladly like to do that. And I think it's going to bring so much more attention to the golf course. Like we were saying, there's so many people that don't even know that course is there. And I think we'll bring a lot of awareness to it. So I just want to. And also we do I'm a veteran as well. So there are veteran charities that will be tied into this. Ventura County Stand Down, which handles all the homeless veterans. So that's very near and dear to my heart as well.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So I've been focused on just that event. I haven't even,
Let's just do the one. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
We'll move on to the next one. And the only thing that I'm going to add is I want more information. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay? Scott, we're going to go to number 2, to the El Segundo High School cross country. Marcos is here. And would you like to, would you like to come up?
I'll be available for questions.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Scott, thanks very much.
Hey guys, how you doing? Any questions you guys have? Not too long ago, I was here in front of you guys, and you guys said, "What would be your dream?" So I think this is one of the things that'd be kind of cool to
So
do.
this is a dream.
You know, one of them, yeah, it's a good one, near and dear to my heart for my team and for the community and for the school. I think it'd be kind of cool to do.
And I'm going to ask the question, how about, tell me about fees. Are they going to be charged? Is this part of, help me out here.
Yeah, so we haven't determined a fee. Again, we don't have a fee structure, so that's something that my plan is to, once we have a lot more of the details and the information worked out, get in front of city council and let them sort of decide. But the golf course subcommittee definitely has an opinion. They have an opinion on basically looking at, you know, a typical sales for a Saturday in September or Saturday in August, and if it's a for-profit event, then you charge at least that, recoup your costs, and maybe a little bit more. If it's a school event or nonprofit or fundraising event, such as the high school, they want to really be supportive of youth sports, and so they'll probably take that, look at those numbers, and probably take a little off. I think that's really the approach right now.
And are you okay with there being fees?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
totally open. I talked to Meredith about that. You know, as long as it's reasonable and something that it would benefit the team and you guys, yeah, definitely. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she has to present, so that way we can work with that.
And it says 7:30 to 1:30. Are you gone at 1:30? They can.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
Golf course can get back up and operating after that time?
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay. Thank you. And Scott, I do have a couple of questions for you. Thanks, Marcos. Running. I don't know how many teams, 25 teams running in the same spot. Compaction, are you worried about it?
Not too worried about it. In fact, the coach was out yesterday mapping out what that course would be, and of course, he knows where to stay away from, and we've kind of coordinated what that would be. So we're not too worried about that. There'll be some wear and tear on the course, but I'm confident that as good as that grass grows out there, that within 5 or 6 days, I would bet you wouldn't even know they were there.
That's aggressive. Okay, but I understand. And you've done this for a good portion of your life. You're confident that this is a good use?
I think it's a great use.
Okay. You're the expert. Dave, anything?
I guess just trying to find ways, again, to capitalize on all those people that are going to be there, whether it's the restaurant or whether it's, you know, if we're, I mean, I love the idea of, I don't like the idea of losing money, but I do like the idea of saving the team money at the same time. So it's like, how can you have both? You can't. But if we're going to lose a little bit of money, then let's, you know, do something, get food booths out there, local, you know, do those types of things at the same event. And then I think that can make up for the difference potentially.
Yeah, again, we definitely have discussed that. Marcos has offered us the opportunity to have concessions, sell Gatorade, water. I'm not too familiar with cross country. From what I hear, the parents come. You don't really see your kid running around, so you need something to do, right? Eat an omelet or have some coffee or something. So I think this is an event that's probably more palatable in terms of what we could provide out of the kitchen that we have. So Scott will definitely work with Marcos on that.
I think this is, I don't know, Marcos, I think this is going to be a unique course just because you can see the whole thing, right? Because it's just going in a loop and aren't a ton of buildings or trees, or, you know, some trees, but
Go ahead, Alex.
No questions, but I would just say there's a lot of undulation on that course, so please tape your ankles.
Lee?
Are fans allowed out there?
You mentioned that the Rose Bowl course is one of the others. What kind of participation in and financially have you looked at their structure scheme? Yes.
You can please come back up.
I think you're more the authority on it.
Yeah, the one at the Rose Bowl is hosted by Claremont High School. That's one of the ones that they run. And they actually do it at night, so a little bit more of a liability, right? Talking about some of the potholes there. So they're running out there at night at Brookside, and they have about 45 to 50 teams. And it's run pretty smooth for the last few years. Fee-wise, they do pretty good. The golf course actually completely stays out of it for the most part, so they don't actually capitalize on any of the the concessions, which I think is something that I'd like to work with you guys on, and I think it'd be a mutually beneficial thing. So as far as fees go, they do pretty well to raise enough funds for the program, but they rely on third parties to do a lot of the other stuff. Hope that.
Thank you. Thank both of you. Lee, anything? Feedback? You want to?
I'm good. I think both events are awesome. I don't want revenue to suffer if possible. That's my two main things, but I'm in support of both, definitely.
Alex?
Supportive of both.
Okay. You're okay? After hearing Scott, I'm supporting number 2. Number 3, consideration and possible action related to the request for installing a safety net between Stevenson Field and the softball field at Recreation Park to prevent home runs from the softball field, I would assume, and foul balls from entering either field. Recommendation, review baseball and softball safety proposal for softball field and Stevenson Field. Provide direction to staff if there is a desire to pursue further research. Or 3, alternatively discuss and take other action related to this item. Sean.
Good evening, commissioners. I've been blown away tonight. All these young people coming up here and speaking. It's like, geez, when I was in 8th grade, there's no way. So these 3 young men, Owen, Mason, and Tommy, came to Meredith and I a couple months ago now and brought up a thing that's important to them. Meredith and I walked out with them onto the field and took a look and kind of worked with them. And then for a couple months, me and the guys have been putting together, they've done all the work, but the presentations, the staff report. So they've kind of got to see the backside of what we're doing every day. So I'm excited to bring up Owen, Mason, and Tommy to present their 8th grade project for El Segundo Middle School.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Mason.
My name is Tommy O'Keefe.
Kirsten. And this is our 8th grade community project about baseball and softball safety.
So here's just some background information about our project. Stevenson baseball field and Bobby Sox softball field are right next to each other, and sometimes foul balls from Stevenson fly into the softball field where games are happening, and it's just an injury risk for some of the softball players that they could potentially get hurt from a foul ball.
Right now, it's really lucky that no softball players have been hit because their backs are faced to where the foul balls are coming over, so they can't watch when parents and coaches yell heads up from a foul ball because they have to watch their own game, and sometimes they're in the middle of a play. This is the current situation of the fields. Right there is where the fence is, and it's, I think, about 12 feet high, which doesn't stop any of the foul balls right here to right over the stands. Some of them go over coming down here, and a lot of softball players are right here in danger of the foul balls.
And more about taking action of putting up the net. The Major League Baseball Association has actually taken much action on putting up more safer and taller nets, and has really helped keep people safe as a turn of watching the game.
Here's some feedback we got from some players and parents. So one player said, "Foul balls go over the fence all the time. I always think someone will get hit." That is Sebastian Brockman. Another player said that, "I always get scared and no one wants to be the one to hurt someone." One older varsity high school player said that foul balls always distract the softball kids, but they're also playing a game and sometimes they can't stop the game.
Obviously, cost is somewhat of an object in a project like this because, you have to hire people to put the net up. You have to get the actual net. We talked to Dick's Sporting Goods and Big Five. They both seem fairly interested in donating or offering a price reduction for the project to at least give us a net that we can put up.
There was a similar situation like this in Andrews, Texas, where there were two fields right next to each other. And unlike us, they've had 6 kids get hit by foul balls. One kid got hit in the head and had to go to the hospital. So we just wanted to take action and hopefully stop anyone from getting hurt.
This is Andrews, Texas. You can see it's really similar to El Segundo with one field here and a softball field on this side with really nothing preventing foul balls from going into either field. And this is the comparison. They're very similar, you can see. Thank you very much.
Great job, guys. You have any questions for them before they sit down?
No questions, but that was wonderful, guys. I really appreciate that. It's a great project.
I have questions for Meredith.
Okay, go ahead.
Nice job, guys. You've spent a lot of time there. I've seen left fielders hit. I've seen left fielders hit before in my life, on the leg, once, I remember specifically. I don't think the softball going over, every 10 years we get a player who can, hits 10 or 12 bombs on softball, but typically we don't. That's not as big of a concern. Now that the men's league isn't there anymore, the hardball helps too. But with that said, I mean, when the biggest time of risk, if it's during a game, I actually don't think it's probably worth it because it's, once in 50 years. But the bigger concern is when teams are warming up down the left, when softball teams are warming up down the left field line and they're right on the other side of the fence. And that's when there's 20 or 30 of them and they're all right there. And that then you're just increasing the odds 50-fold with all those kids. So I'm a little bit torn because we just went through this big, huge process with all these projects that we did where we had this money for, and I don't know if this is the type of one that should go on the project because we had some safety. We had the extension of the Stevenson Field fence. We had the extension of the Play Park fence. There were a lot of extensions for safety reasons that were on that list. And so that's the only thing that's kind of making me hesitate because, okay, so that's awesome. These guys are doing a great project, but now is that more important than the one to block the play park with the little play park up by the clubhouse for home runs? I don't know which is the bigger risk. So I want it to happen. I think it's needed, definitely, but I don't know if it rises above those other ones. And so that's why I guess that's really the question. Where is staff on this safety issue versus the similar safety issues in other areas?
Let's hear from the rest of us.
Okay.
All right. Lee, go ahead. And I definitely have some opinions. So.
Right, and I might overlap on some of what you're going to say. I think the one difference between the Texas field and the Stevenson field is that they both sit basically in the same direction, shooting out into outfields. So that for somebody to hit a foul over into a condensed area, which would be home plate over on Bobby Sox, and then, back across from Bobby Sox over to Stevenson, is a little different. And we have gone 50 years without an injury, but again, safety of the field is utmost. I totally agree with Dave. We just got done with a very large list prioritizing and setting stuff up. If you're not familiar, we were given a chunk of money. We set 3 projects. 2 of them could be fully funded. 1 was partially, and we left about another 20 unfunded. And now we've got another one. So when you talk about our priorities, we literally just 3 months ago maybe, got done with our priority list, so that when we hear another thing, you know, it kind of opens our eyes to, you know, all the stuff that is needed. But I see the importance, especially with the similarities in Texas, but yet we are somewhat different. So I'd like to put on the priority list, but money right now is very difficult to come by. So it's my only concerns.
Alex.
So like the other two commissioners, my first thought was also to the priority list, but if Big Five and Dick's totally fund it, would it even make the list?
I'm sorry, say that?
If Big Five and Dick's Sporting Goods are gonna completely fund this net project, would it even matter with the list?
I didn't hear that they were going to fully fund it. I heard that they had talked to them about the netting.
Right, that's
Okay,
what I'm
but-
saying, if they decide to fully fund it, because they have sought out Dick's and Big Five to see if they're willing to participate.
I'm not sure that it would matter at that point, to me.
I think that's just a net anyway. This type of project, I'm assuming, would need DSA approval because it's over 12 feet and all of that architect work, right?
It would actually get inspected by a city department. Yeah. I don't know when you want me to respond, but.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. I've been involved with Stevenson Field for a good 40 years. It's absolutely needed. You guys did a great job. I'm not worried about somebody getting hit, but what didn't get brought up was we'll call it our fall ball program in Babe Ruth. It runs from October through Thanksgiving. What also happens at that time is 5 and 6 year old soccer, AYSO, playing in left field. It's a gigantic problem. When I saw that last year, I said, and then, sorry, I should have said that was not good. And then this year, it was even worse. Again, luckily, no one was hurt. But it could happen, and I don't want to see that happen. So I'm not sure where AYSO 5 and 6 year olds, I don't even know, is it 5 and 6 year olds? I wouldn't want my grandson playing on the softball fields, AYSO soccer at 5 and 6 with a baseball game going on over there. We did raise the fence. We put netting up on the third base side because we had residents complaining of foul balls going over there. We just raised the fence on the softball field because of the same thing. That wasn't really about people getting hurt. That was cars or windows or. I really would like to see more information. I would like to see a cost. Let's get a cost or RFP or whatever it's necessary, and let's see if we can get this funded. I was hoping to see something because I can tell you that Babe Ruth will donate something to the cost. I don't know, I have some pull with that. So I think I can talk a few others into it, gentlemen. So if you can get us the cost, see if we can work it out.
Being more of a swimmer and not so much a baseball player, I had no idea that you had not only a baseball in baseball, but you had the younger AYSO. My opinion has greatly changed within that little bit of information, knowing that there's, not only kids in tight proximity, but young kids sitting in the area that's most prone to a harder driven ball. If we're able to extend, a fence out to one side because cars were getting hit and houses were having balls in their front yard, if not breaking windows, I think we could certainly do it or at least we deserve to see a financial analysis on what it's going to cost to see to what it's going to take to make sure that the rented space for AYSO and for Stevenson is safe for those kids to actually be performing on.
Having additional time to think about it, I guess these guys are doing a great job by bringing it to the attention and raising awareness and doing all that stuff. And so in my mind, they've done their job. And so now I think it's like you guys make decisions about safety every single week. You have to decide, is this a big enough safety issue to repair this curb? Does this tree need to go down? So in my mind, this is just another one of those on that list that staff needs to decide. I mean, we can make our recommendations like, yeah, this is important to us, but really it's about, going back to my other question, is this more important than the fence over there? You know, that's where I stand. If staff believes that this is a priority and based on all the work they've done, then I fully support it. If they put it lower on the list, then I support that. I guess I don't feel like this is the type of thing that I can say should be a priority or shouldn't.
So, go ahead. I know you're ready now.
Sure. So yes, when you discuss, prioritizing capital improvement projects, I wouldn't necessarily categorize it as a capital improvement. I do think it's a safety issue. I can tell you a little bit about the last fencing project that we did on softball. If you recall, because of the vines, we had a wind event which caused the third base side to basically fall over. And as part of that project, we used that as an opportunity to raise the fencing, which is really a net on the third base side, because over time we had heard complaints from a lot of foul balls going over onto eucalyptus. There's parking there, there's cars driving by, pedestrians. So we used that as an opportunity. That entire project, the entire fence line, and the extension of the netting was $25,000. So I would imagine that netting piece, I don't have it itemized, unfortunately, but that netting piece would probably be less than half of what that total cost was. What we can do in terms of budget and funding is look at actually our operating budget. This wouldn't be a capital project. Into our repair and maintenance, we just reached half of our fiscal year. So we're really taking a look at what's the next 6 month holds for us. And there may be some funds available in our repair and maintenance budget to supplement the project as well.
Let's see if we can do some creative financing.
Sure.
Okay.
I think softball should step up. If Babe Ruth is going to step up, it's the safety for both sides. So I think it could be all three entities sharing in it.
And we can add a fourth one too, AYSO. If
Sure.
they're going to be using that field, let's like I said, let's try some. Let's see what it's going to take first. Some creative financing, and if the cost is up there a little bit more, let's check with the city and council and go from there.
Sure. So the first step that we'll take is getting a couple fencing companies out,
Right.
getting their recommendations on how high we really need to go too.
Mhm.
That's what we also don't know. And then we'll need to check with our engineers to make sure that structurally, whatever height they do decide, do it properly.
Exactly.
How cool if these guys come back, they're like in their 30s or 40s, and they see those nets up there, and like, well, tell their kids, like, I got this put out. That'd be so awesome. So I hope it gets done, guys. I know a lot of those 8th grade projects can't get done, right? They have great ideas, and then it ends up not happening. So I hope this one does. It's really cool. Good job, guys.
And thank you for bringing it to everybody's attention. So you have your recommendation. You're ready to go.
We will
Okay,
continue.
good.
Yes.
Again, thank you. Reports. Make sure I do this right here. Reports of subcommittees. Aquatic subcommittee.
We've actually met a few times. The new pool has had the pour in the bottom, concrete pour. The next 2 pours will happen over the course of the next week, and after that they start putting up panels. The city is currently looking at an opening date of, I think the optimistic view is August, September, and depending how everything goes, it could be somewhere in that ballpark.
Also, Balfour Beatty hosted the committee and the council members and Meredith and a bunch of staff. So we got to take a look at all the different spaces and even like the storage room and, where the office is going to be, because there's enough up there. So that was pretty cool.
Big hole in the ground.
And South Bay Sports Health and Recreation did meet with Gensler to finalize the donation wall as well as the stepping stones that people have already purchased, so that we can get some good artwork and start our next financial push for fundraising.
Okay. Golf course subcommittee. Alex.
So the RFP finally went out to about 17 organizations, if I recall correctly. There's a pre-bid meeting to 24 April at 10 a.m. The joint task force is off and will reconvene for June. Questions, there was a opening for questions to be made for the RFP, and that closes out, and those questions will be posted tomorrow.
Okay. The Lakes Task Force. Who gets to do that one?
Same report.
Okay, same report. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Youth Sports Council, nothing until August. So we're good with that. Department staff reports. Marcia?
As of this evening, I think I did my sharing was actually done earlier, but I did want to remind everyone about Hometown Fair that's coming on May 5th. So we would like to see you out there. The next drama productions will be in early June, so I'll make sure that you have tickets and you know about those times as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher?
Yeah, my report, I'll take any questions. Couple things I'd like to add. Camp Eucalyptus is going to be having a cleanup on April 28th, and also that's the same day as the Arbor Day event as well, Memory Row.
Okay. Anybody questions? Okay. Dan O'Toole.
Good evening. You have my report in front of you. Just a reminder that we have our YouTube numbers on our sheet here. So if like the baseball people want to see themselves on TV, they go to El Segundo TV on YouTube and they can see themselves. So that's kind of exciting. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Dan, thank you for what you do. Department Directors Report. Meredith.
Yes, so wanted to update you on the city council meeting last night. We had a discussion about your recommendations for the capital improvement projects. I gave the city council the survey results, as well as talked about the process that was undertaken here at the commission over the last 3 or 4 months to come to the consensus that we came to. And ultimately, they were really thrilled with the work that the commission put in, and really excited to get your recommendations, and supported them 100%. What we ended up recommending, if you recall, I'll remind you, is for the $250,000 that was undesignated, about $170,000 is allocated to the Holly Valley playground replacement. We'll definitely start that project. We already have an engineer from Public Works assigned to the project, and so we'll be meeting with her and developing the scope of the work there. We also, number 2 is the Campus El Segundo shade structure, largely funded by AYSO, so we'll start engaging with AYSO and talking about the scope of work at Campus El Segundo. Number 3 was where this commission said, if we could do the Joslyn restrooms, we want to do them, but if not, we'll put the rest of the funding towards the teen center. In the meantime, our Public Works and Planning Building Safety Department representatives went to the Joslyn Center, really took a look at the restrooms and what would be needed to upgrade those to be fully ADA compliant. And there are some complications with the project, I think, as everybody sort of expected. Definitely one of those projects that once you start opening walls and changing plumbing, the cost would be escalating. The main issue with the project of just sort of raising the toilets or making the stalls more compliant in the doorways and counters and things, is that you would be then required to enlarge one of the stalls. And in the women's restroom particularly, there's 3 stalls, so that would lower the toilet count, which leads us into getting into a problem of having enough toilets for the capacity of the building. So unfortunately, it's a project that has to still really be analyzed and will be included in the Public Works Facility Condition Assessment. So we'll have a really better idea of how we can accommodate the needs over there. There is a singular restroom in the back near the kitchen of the Joslin Center, and the recommendation at this point would be to really build that and remodel that to make sure that it is ADA compliant with the appropriate pathways and signage, and then that would hopefully meet the needs of the center. So the City Council approved the Holly Valley Playground, Campus El Segundo shade structures, and then starting to engage the teens and the community in developing a scope for what improvements the teen center really needs. They definitely had a concern about it. Would that be enough funding for the teen center? Of course not. So, what I told them was that we would start engaging the community and really try to get a better handle on what funding would be necessary moving forward, and then probably be back in front of council to report what that is.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Farfan. Alex.
Public speaking is it's all the youth that came up.
Not only the youth, anyone that came up and talked, because it's tough. Commissioner Pierce is not here. Commissioner Lubes.
Just wanted to thank Arcia. A year, I mean, those things seem like they're not that big a deal, but they do take forever. And it's hard to get a lot of people to agree on some of those things. And although we all agree that all those things, it's not obvious isn't the right word, but yes, right, on everything. But for staff to be reminded of it is really important. So that's the piece that is like, that process they went through kind of just solidifies what we're here for. So it's not just the words, I know, it's also the culture and, so thank you for leading that. That's really well done.
Vice Chairperson Davis.
Well, I know he's gone, but Victor coming back up there, just seeing, the Arbor Day coming back around and the Tree Musketeers back in function is actually really nice. Before I took a position on this commission, I had no idea exactly what they were about and why they did what they did. And it was nice to see him back. Mr. Farfan Jr., very nice talk. Appreciate it very much. Again, it was nice to put a face to it, to see people come up and talk. Marty Stone coming up, I can read all day long about what they put on paper, but till I get a face to it, I can't really, I can't put the emotional touch to it. I can see that, they're taking a bench from, I believe, a mayor that was mayor for 20 some odd years and just serving for almost 3 years now on this commission. I look at that and just cross my eyes and go, well, if they're all for it, I'm all for them. And but until you see that face, so it was nice to see that. Speaking of service, Debbie Bundy got her wall up on checkout, and couldn't be happier for her. She, again, great service, a great person who spent a lot of time, very concerned about the community. And as we go on, I'd like to see more events at the golf course. It's just tough for me after going through the RFP process to say that we're going to start changing things before that comes through. And other than that, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, putting Debbie Bundy's name on the Friends of Recreation Parks wall was a highlight last week. 20 plus years of service being up here on this dais. She was a bright light up here. Her insight and wisdom benefited the community greatly. That's it for me. We'll now open up to public communications. Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close public communications and adjourn to the next regular meeting on Wednesday, May 16th at 6 p.m.